The RX 9060 XT, 8 gig. I was told I was going to hate this card. All the reviewers told me you shouldn't buy this card because it's 8 gig instead of 16 gig. You're going to run out of video memory. It's not going to be good enough. Modern titles won't work on it. Yeah, we'll discuss that a little bit. So my first thought is, don't believe everything you hear. Don't believe everything you read. Don't believe everything that's on the internet. Now, we'll go into this a little bit because I'm sure there are going to be times when that will apply. I will kind of go through this and tell you what happened first of all. I bought this card because the price dropped. And when I did that, I figured, okay, I've heard all the bad things about it. It's 8 gig. I'm sure that it's not popular. The price is dropping because nobody's buying it, because everybody's bashing on it. And when the price did drop, I thought, okay, that's probably worth picking up so I can test it. Fair enough. I tested it in a mid-range system with a Ryzen 7 3700X and an RTX 3060 and found out that it maybe had a little bit more room to grow than just the 1080p I was testing with. So I brought it back to test against some more cards. And so that's what we're doing now. Now, I will point out a couple of things. This isn't really a which card is better. We should be able to tell between the three of these. I've got an ARC B570, I've got an RTX 3060 Ti, and I've got this 9060 XT 8 gig. We should figure that the 9060 should be a better card. They are all three going to be a reasonable price range away from each other. I would like to have tested the B580, which would be closer to this price range. You can buy an RTX 3060 Ti for probably about the same price, maybe a little bit cheaper. The B570 is going to be less expensive, so we can probably add maybe 10 to 12 or 15% to the performance of this card to see what the B580 would be. I'd say probably 10 to 12 to see what the B580 might have been, but I just haven't picked one of those cards up yet. That is more close to, or more, it's closer to the 9060 XT 8 gig than the 570 would be. And performance-wise, we can tell that. I'm not expecting a whole lot, but I wanted to test. All these are on latest drivers. And with some of these benchmarks, whatever the default was, that's what I chose. So in some cases, you'll see that it chose a default upscaler. I may or may not have taken that, and I'll tell you why as we get to it. Now, the thing with this is that we keep hearing that 8 gig's not enough, 8 gig's not enough, 8 gig's not enough, and that's drowned in, or it's just pounded into our head. But what if you're not using 4K with ultra ray tracing settings? What if you're just playing 1080p gaming or 1440p? The whole reason I'm testing it at these two resolutions is because when I tested on 1080p, I was getting some good frame rates, and I thought this probably has a little bit further room to go. So that's what we're doing here. This isn't a comparison against the card, like I said. This is just as if you were going from one of the other cards to upgrading to this, or you're thinking, oh, I can get this card for this much, but I can get that card brand new for that much. Something along those lines. So that's kind of the way we did that here. With some of the games, the classic games that I've been testing longer, I went ahead and did 1080p and 1440p, high, medium, low. The other games, I put them both on the same slide, and I just did 1080p high or 1440p high. One of the things to kind of note, and it might be a future video, is the RTX 3060 Ti. I wished I would have captured sound of it. I didn't. The temperature was okay for the most part. It was in the low 80s sometimes, but the fans had to ramp up really loud to keep it that way. It was the louder of the card, and I think it's because I was using it for a good 2.5 years in my regular PC, and it probably just needs a good repasting. So that might be a future video. Maybe if you're subscribed, you'll be able to see that later, and whatever else I get into. But in any case, doesn't have anything to do yet with the benchmarking. Did not affect the testing because it still had plenty of, I think, plenty of room, and it did pretty well here. We're going to start out with Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and it's kind of about what you'd expect, with the 9060 being on top, the ARC B570 being on the bottom, B570 staying 30 to 40 frames per second behind. We're looking at 1080p first. and then we'll go ahead and look at 1440, and that's about what you'd expect with both of those. The 9060 firmly in control of that. Now keep in mind that if you can buy a used 3060 Ti or a brand new RX 9060 XT 8 gig, you kind of have to, maybe a thought there. Borderlands 3, I test this mainly. One of the reasons why I test this game is I've been testing it for a long time. I'm not getting Borderlands 4 anytime soon, not till they start to optimize it. This is going to stay in my benchmarks. We'll keep testing it. I do test this because the video card is always taxed here, and this is where I usually see my highest temperatures. This is where I saw the low to mid 80s on the RTX 3060 Ti with the fans really ramping up. Kudos to the B570 for trying to keep up in 1440p. Yeah, that's a little bit of a surprise. Now, I think the 3060 Ti and the ARC cards are just getting closer in performance. I don't think this has anything to do with my probable having to repaste to the 3060 Ti later. Not in this video, but we'll see that. We'll see if there's a performance difference when that happens, if there actually is. In Cyberpunk 2077, we'll look at 1080p. And then, yeah, good for the ARC card, keeping up and doing some surprising things in 1440p here. Now, this is the first game that we had some choices to make as far as upscaling. The NVIDIA card and the AMD card both chose FSR 2.1, so that was easy enough to test. The ARC card chose XeSS. Now, I don't know why the NVIDIA card, again, chooses FSR over DLSS, but it did. The Intel card chose XeSS, so I went ahead and did full numbers for it and full numbers for FSR. I'm only showing the FSR numbers here. They were close enough where I thought it was within margin of error, with the difference being that I think XeSS, maybe the Intel upscaler makes particle physics, the smoke, fog, things like that, steam, look a little bit better or a little bit more realistic. There certainly seemed to be more of it. You can see that in the bar or out in the real world. You can see some of those effects. It just seemed to look a little bit better, a little bit more realistic than the FSR did. Not bashing on FSR, it does a great job. But yeah, that was a difference here. I did take the FSR numbers though, because they were, like I said, within margin of error. And again, but we've got a comparison here, and it was surprisingly good at 1440. With CS2, this is the first one we start to combine all the charts together into just one set. And this is about what you'd expect. It's 1080p, 1440 high. And yeah, for our esports title. Now, don't get me wrong. You can still play this fairly comfortably on the ARC B570. It's just not as good as if you're using a 9060 XT. That's all, even if it is the 8 gig model. Black Myth Wukong, the ARC drivers aren't quite there yet. In fact, we'll see that with the other games that we're looking at too. In this case, the drivers or the ARC card was about half of what the 9060 XT is. Now, even if we're thinking a little bit further ahead, and we're thinking maybe how the B580, which is more similarly priced, compares to this, I still think the 9060 XT is going to have its way with the B580. So, yeah, give that what you will. But yeah, the ARC drivers just aren't quite there yet. Monster Hunter Wilds, this is the one game where whatever upscaler it chose, I went with. So Intel choosing XeSS, DLS for NVIDIA, and of course FSR. The FSR was 3.0, and it asked me if I wanted to do frame gen. I did not do frame gen in any one of the cards. I just did it stock. So those are the numbers you're seeing there. And it finished out about how you would expect it to be. One surprising thing here is I thought Black Myth Wukong looked really, really good. I thought maybe it would start borrowing memory on that game or this game, and it didn't. For the 3060 Ti or for the 9060 XT, it didn't have to borrow any memory from either card. So I was really a little bit surprised there, but then I was thinking to myself too, we still are only testing on 1080p and 1440. We're not going full bore testing on 4K with all the bells and whistles here. Yeah, and if you are, you're probably not looking at this card anyway. It's just simple. Then we finally look at Marvel Rivals. This game looks, all three of these games look pretty good. Marvel Rivals really, you can see the results here. about what you'd expect. The 9060 XT is going to far outperform the Art card, and I'm thinking that if you've got an Intel Art card, you're probably going to be using this card for something like encoding or using DaVinci Resolve or something like that. You're or rendering in a case like that. I don't think you're trying to use this as a gaming card like you would the other two. And it kind of shows here. The 9060 XT does really, really well. And the Art card doesn't do quite as well. Even though the drivers have gotten much better, you can tell in some of these newer games, these games have come out over the past 6, 7, 8 months, you can tell that there's still some refining to do or some catching up to do with the Arc drivers to maybe make this a little bit better. Are we going to see better results with these 700 series Arc cards? I hope so, but I also think they're going to be more expensive than this card. So just my thought there. Overall, all the drivers installed very, very easily on all three cards. They all perform pretty well. The 3060 Ti, like I said, it was a little bit louder. The fans ramped up. I don't think it had that much to do with the performance. If it does, we will find that out in a future video. Yes, I'm plugging myself again. Sorry, but the performance was typical of about where I thought it'd be. What I was surprised with was the performance of the 9060 XT. I did not think it was going to be that good. I thought it would be good or better, but I did not think it would do as well. And I certainly did not think that I would not run into any memory problems, because I've been led to believe this entire time that, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. It turns out it's good enough, especially if you're playing on 1080p or 1440p. And I was doing, 1440p high. This card did very, very well in every game I tested. Every game I played or tested, it did very well. Is this a good deal? We're sitting at about $270. I'd like it to see $20 or $25 cheaper, because then you're firmly into the used price of the 3060 Ti. You're firmly into the price of what the B580 is at retail, that is now getting to be available more often. And this does, I think, become a really good deal. If you're talking about a $250 card to a $250 card, and one of them is 1.5 times better than the other one for the same price, that's kind of the case here, So, even though, now don't get me wrong, the Intel Art card has a great encoder, but that's not what we're testing here. It does great when I'm trying to render videos. That's why it's in my editing rig behind me. I've got that 570 in the editing rig, because it does a great job with the AV1 encoder. This wasn't this deal. It wasn't what I was doing here. I was testing gaming, and gaming-wise, this 9060 XT did really, really well. And in fact, it's probably going to end up in one of my builds. So I did like it that much. So that's my thought. Give me your thoughts down below. Let me know what you're thinking. Is $270 too much for this card? Or is that getting close to the sweet spot? Or are you waiting for that price to come down just a little bit more? Because AMD does that. AMD is going to cut the price on this probably a little bit more. What is that price that you'd be looking at a card like this, even knowing that it's only 8 gig and it's not going to be good enough to run newer games? But if you're running on 1080p or 1440 in a mid-range to budget range PC, why not? Let me know what your thought on that is. If you thinking about it, would do it, have done it. I got really good feedback last time. Some people let me know that what they were thinking or what they upgraded to and from, and somebody had bought the 16 gig and they loved it. They were very, very happy and got a good price on it. So I love you guys' feedback, and I do read them all, and I appreciate it. So, but yeah, that leads me to the end of the video. So if you got anything out of it, go ahead and throw a like on it for me, please. If you don't mind, hit me up on the other socials. Got a growing Discord channel. I will eventually be streaming it on that purple channel again before too long. So yeah, hit me up on those. But if you don't do either one of those, you don't subscribe or hit the like button or hit me up on the socials or anything like that, do me one favor, especially this time of year. Let's just be good to each other. Hold the door open, wave, smile, say good morning. If somebody does that for you, if you're trying to go into a store and somebody holds the door open for you, doesn't that make you feel just a little bit better and appreciate it? Especially if your hands are full and you're walking out and somebody holds the door open so you can get out. Little things like that can make a difference. And you can make a difference too. So, anyway, That is all I have for this time. So until I get myself into something I got no business getting into, say something like repasting a 3060 Ti or checking out a new mixer or something like that, yeah, until I get myself into something like that, that's all I got. So I'll see you later.